Hello and welcome to Fine is a Four-Letter Word. Today is an episode that like one we've never had before because I've done, I don't know when this publishes, will probably be at about 150 episodes, close to it. And I've never had a return guest until today. And so welcome to the studio, Christina Robinson Race.
Thank you. I am so grateful to be your first returning guest, and a lot has changed.
A lot. That's why we're having you back, because a lot has changed. So Christina's original episode was episode 44. It was season 2, episode 8 when I was doing seasons, but now I don't do seasons. So we renumbered them all, and it's episode 44 if you want to go back and listen to it. And that was in February of 2022. So 2+ years later, a lot happens in 2+ years.
A lot happens in 3 months. So
yes, absolutely. And then on top of it, Christina and I have been scheduling this episode. Like, this is going to be epic because we have scheduled this episode like 5 times, and tech issues or one of us not paying attention to the scheduling calendar or whatever it was, every single time we've had to reschedule, and we are finally in the studio together at the same time, and tech is working.
And it's my first time, my second day back at a desk in 3 months, working from an actual desk in 3 months. So everything came together today.
It is a beautiful thing. And so I expect that this conversation will be very valuable for anyone who's listening.
Exactly.
So I don't even know where to begin. We were before I hit record, we were talking about mascara and lip gloss and
TikTok addiction.
TikTok. Yes. But let's start with give me some of the highlights of what's happened since in the past 2 years.
Well, first of all, I have a much better headshot now. I looked back at that episode and I was cringing at that headshot. So I have a much better headshot. But literally everything in my life has changed since our last conversation. My kids that were at boarding school are all now in college, and one of them just graduated last week and is teaching for the first time. Summer school started yesterday, and I'm at a new company, and I had moved. First episode, I lived in Chattanooga, and I had moved to Nashville between then. And then my husband left me unexpectedly, and my kids were all gone, and I had to start like building a whole new network. I was just there by myself, and then and started dating, the whole life. And then
we can talk about that.
Yeah. And then 3 months ago, I was at a work conference in DC. And I had Achilles surgery like right after our episode. And I was finally back in heels for the first time. And I was walking in DC on a sidewalk that was like broken up so much that it looked like pavers or, garden things.
Yeah. Welcome to DC.
Yeah. And it was going between the Grand Hyatt and Old Ebbitt, which is my favorite restaurant in DC. So I remember that path distinctly. So anyway, I twist my ankle, and I stepped down. I was in platform heels. I stepped down on something that was uneven. My ankle rolled out, and then it rolled in, and then I fell forward and caught myself in my hands. So I ended up breaking my 5th metatarsal, which is a really difficult one to fix. You have to have surgery, and I had that 2 weeks ago. And then I also broke my ankle. I ruptured 2 tendons in my ankle. I ruptured my Achilles, or my rotator cuff in my shoulder, and I pinched a nerve in my neck.
Wow.
I don't do anything halfway, but I also have
I was just going to say that.
I have an underlying Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connectivity disorder. So one thing that happens, it can go very bad. So I had my first surgery on the 20th, and I got my stitches out like right before this call and ran back to my desk. So,
well, congratulations on that part of the good news. Yeah. All right.
Oh, and doesn't end there. I had to move in with the person I'm going through a divorce with in Illinois. I had to leave my house in Nashville that I was renting, because it's real hard to live by yourself when you can't use your right foot, you can't drive, and you have limited use of your right arm. And my son was 24, and he just got back from Army training. And so he was he's here in Illinois. And so both of them, because my kids are at college, or one graduated and starting her real life, and one's working on campus this summer. So I had to move back in, and it puts my divorce on hold and restarts all the timelines.
What?
So yeah.
Okay. Well, so wait, let's back some things up, because I was listening to all those things that happened. And let's start with your husband left, and you said unexpectedly. And I want to say, like, does that ever happen expectedly?
I think you can sense that it's going to happen, but my daughter and her roommate were in town for her 21st birthday to go out on Broadway, as you do when you turn 21. And during that weekend, he decided he was leaving and just walked out. We were already living in two states most of the time anyway. And like we committed, like he's based in Illinois and I'm based in Tennessee. And so we would see each other on weekends and like 1 week a month. And he just left. And there were some other things that were happening that we won't put on the podcast, but it was out of the blue, completely shocking. Like, did not expect it.
So to you, everything in the marriage was fine.
It was fine. It wasn't good. It was fine,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't walking out bad. So it was like there were things we definitely could have worked on and done therapy on and worked through. But yeah, it was a complete shock. He just decided that there were some other factors, but one of them is he just wanted to, he was turning 50 and wanted to live a bachelor life.
Mm. Okay. And so you said you've moved back in. So I'm assuming like he left and you stayed,
right?
But you were living already separately.
Pretty much. So I already had my own house. He had his own. So it made that easier. I was in a single family rental, which the lease expired yesterday. So when I was moving my daughter down after she graduated college, I had to go down and have movers pack up all my stuff and move it to storage, because when I am discharged from all of this, I am going to relocate back to Chattanooga to be closer to my daughter, because we have this adult woman-to-woman relationship now that I want to savor every moment. She's doing Teach for America for 2 years, and I want to savor that time before she goes to her other master's program and, marriage and kids and everything.
Cool. I want to come back to that in a minute, but I wanted to stay on this topic of the whole marriage thing.
Yeah.
Like when you look back, do you see any signs? Like,
yes.
I mean, other than the fact that, like, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to maintain a relationship when you're living in two different states and barely see each other.
I did see signs. I saw signs. He's always been an avoidant personality, and I am an anxious attachment person. So that was always difficult. But he started coming down less. He told me during our last several vacations that he hated vacations, that work was his number one priority. I'd pretty much done everything. I primary parented our kids. I paid all the bills. I did literally everything, while also working full time and, raising 3 children. So, and when he left, he didn't take any of that over. It was this month when he finally agreed to the split of bills. So, he only left. He didn't take any of his responsibility with him. So it all fell on me. And there were also some signs that there might've been some people at work that, he, wanted to spend more time with. And then, we did, that people person happened to be a younger employee. So almost our kids' age. So that was shocking. And then we were only separated, and I had said that I felt like something was going on with this other person. And we did a couple of marriage counseling, which he later told me was just so that he could get the marriage counselor to convince me that, it was done and the divorce was going to be best for me. He keeps telling me this is all best for me.
Best for you, right?
Best for me. And so I mentioned it on therapy, and he said, no, of course not. She's younger. And then we were at one of the conference I'm going to in a couple of weeks, our national conference for my industry. And they were there because they are a client. And we were at my company's party with all of my executives when he told me in the middle of that party that he was attracted to this other person.
Great. Well, he has great timing. We can give him that. And
yeah.
But truly, it sounds like you are better off without him. Like he's
I
right
am.
about that.
Yes, he is. Not for the reasons he thinks, but
Correct.
like they say, you marry what you grow up with, like you marry your parent, right? I was raised, and we've talked about this in my first episode, a very, covert narcissist mother, and I married a covert narcissist, and I always deep down knew that, but it was comfortable for me. So, and I had real I don't like the unknown. So I've had to change that. That's been a big change for me this year, is not having to know things. And I have, learned to build my own village, and I've learned that I am strong. And the biggest lesson I learned is that I was setting a bad example for my kids. My daughter, actually recently told me that I don't hold grudges well enough because I'm still talking to her dad. So, they knew all along, like I was not being treated like I should. And I regret deeply setting that bad example for them. And so I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to show that you can do better.
Yes. Two key points in what you just said. One is that you gravitate to what's familiar, not
Mhm.
necessarily what is comfortable or what is best for you, but what is familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I've had a lot of therapy on working on that and realizing that the voices, that the script inside your head isn't necessarily reality. And I've had to rewrite that script. And I was telling you before we started that, I'm seeing 3 therapists at the moment that are all working on different parts. And they know what each other's working on, because I turned 50 in September. So I have almost 50 years of, bullshit I need to get out of my brain and rewrite and rethink. And so I knew that how I felt, and I knew that, like, my focus on gratefulness that we talked about the first time, I knew all of these things are real important, and that I was focused on them, but I was getting shit for it. Like, I was told that one of the problems that we had is that I always saw everything positively. And we talked about that during our episode. And so, like, I'm not going to change. Those aren't bad things. And I need, like, to understand that, like, somebody's out there who will appreciate these things and not constantly tell me I'm too this, to that, to that. I'll be just enough for someone, or I won't, and I'll be just enough for me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's reminding me of I don't know if it was a meme or a saying or something I've seen on social media, that when people tell you you are too much, you
Mm-hmm.
can tell them to go find less.
Right. And the number one thing, and he told me I was too controlling, but I wasn't controlling. It was paying the bills, doing all the kids stuff, putting the stuff on the calendar because he wasn't going to put it on the calendar. And then I found myself still doing it through, like, after he left. And then it, like, a light bulb went off, and it was like, why? Why are you doing this? It's not appreciated. And you're being told you're controlling. But I also learned that that's the number one way narcissists control their partners, is they tell them they're too controlling so that they stop attempting to do anything.
Mm. And though when you said you have that attachment style, what
Mm-hmm.
did you say yours is?
I am anxious attachment.
Anxious, right? Anxious
Mm-hmm.
attachment, because I can be an avoider. So I understand. Yes. But that also would contribute to you trying to control the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's to protect, to make sure
Right.
that everybody's life is okay. I want everybody to be okay. And I felt like I was the only one that could do that. I'm the
Yeah.
one who had to solve the problems for the kids. I'm the one that had to put everything on the calendar. A lot of that was because it was learned. Like, I would ask him to do something and he couldn't because he was too busy with work. But I worked too. Full
Right.
time,
Right.
like, I'm
Right.
equally as successful. And so, like, those things, like, I don't have to do all these. I really worked with my therapist for a lot with my relationship with my daughter, especially because she was very, very needy, very dependent on me. And her last semester of college, I saw a completely different girl who was more, she had more confidence and, was better able to soothe herself by setting those boundaries and saying, hey, I can't do this right now. And at first I tried to hide my pain of last summer going through this divorce. And I tried to hide my pain for it. And I learned that wasn't helping them either, because I was taking on all their pain because they were pissed off. And so they were taking it out on me because I'm there. And I finally had to say, listen, I am a human just like you are. And remember when you've had breakups, now imagine it being your marriage, who you're married to for, like, fucking ever. So that really helped, I think. And just learning to say, I can't do it all and I don't want to do it all.
Yeah, and it's not possible. Like it's not humanly possible for anyone. And
Right.
so they get to see you're human. They get to see you again as being a better role model
Hmm.
than you have in the
Yeah.
past. And you mentioned earlier about learning that it's okay to not know things, to not
Right.
have certainty about what's coming next. Because even when we think we do, and this is another key takeaway here,
Right.
even when we think we do, we don't.
Exactly. And I was at this point, like this now, right now, the situation I'm in, like I always plan everything. I write notes. I make a list I need to make. You know what I mean? Like I am a
Yes.
planner and I have to know. And I think it's being a mom and traveling and like all these things, I just have to know everything. And also, some childhood trauma that makes me want to like have control of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, I'm not living. I have no like official home right now. I'm like my home is a uh, storage place in Nashville,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know when I'm going to be able to move because I don't know when I'm going to be released from treatment, and I don't know when. I don't even know what's going to happen with my recovery. Like I have a path now with my foot and ankle, but they may have to go back in and do surgery on the ankle, and then I'm facing possible surgery on the shoulder and the neck. So like I don't know my treatment plan. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know when I'm going to move. I don't know anything right
Mm-hmm.
now. But I
Mm-hmm.
do know that I've built up a great support system that has been immensely important to me during this time.
Some sense of freedom in
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
because like okay, hands off. I don't have to control everything. I can't, and I don't have to try.
right.
It,
Absolutely. And I think the freedom just like hit me when you said that because it's this weight lifted off. Like I'm just planning a week ahead. Like I hadn't even, and I talked about being a planner. And so I always did like a color coded weekly planner and all this kind of stuff. I haven't touched my planner since March. I've just been having to go literally day to day. Like, is it going to hurt too bad? I'm going to take too many meds to do what I planned. Am I going to feel up to going out? Like Sunday, I just fucking slept almost all day
mm-hmm.
because I was tired and
Mm-hmm.
I just let myself do it.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're also learning how to listen to your body,
Yes.
listen to your emotions, listen to your body, and do whatever that needs.
Right. Exactly. And it's a quick lesson to learn when your body is literally screaming at you in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a harder lesson to learn when you're not in pain and you're just trying to push through. So I think there's going to be more good that comes out of this than bad. Like I talked in my last episode, we talked about how I saw so many positives because of COVID, like getting to be with my family and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it just proves that all adversities, all these major things that you go through, there, if you look at it and take lessons from it, like I'm not poor meing it. I'm just trying to be funny, but I have 3 scooters, one for each floor of the house. Like you just have to embrace it at times. I get stopped by every old person ever who wants to talk about my injury, and we do, and just really going with the flow.
Do you compare scooter like pros and cons of each scooter?
Oh yes, because my downstairs, my one that goes out has like bike tire kind of, it's like the real tires,
Uh-huh.
and so like it can go everywhere. And actually, I was a little bit late, like getting back to my desk after my doctor appointment because this older gentleman and his wife stopped me leaving the orthopedist office to comment on my scooter and to talk about the pros of having one like that for going out versus the other kind that are better in the house. And yeah, so literally just going with the flow and taking time to like talk to people, like because I
Yeah.
felt I was real isolated. I'm a huge extrovert, like I
Mm-hmm.
am the extrovert's extrovert, right? And being locked into a place, and that's one of the reasons I came here instead of being in Nashville where I would have no ability to go out at all.
Mm-hmm.
Being like but still being stuck in this world and being having to balance out being friends when I'm done, I'll go, no contact. So that'll be the end of like any kind of contact we have. And so just learning to live today, like just be friends today, appreciate that, appreciate, sharing parenting for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and to appreciate, like when I do get to go out. Like I've always been the person that's going to carry on a 10-minute conversation with the cashier at the grocery store, which my kids hate. But now it's like with literally anybody I can see. It's like, oh, good, I'm getting to like get
You're
out
getting
there.
the interpersonal communication,
Right.
like face to face contact, and
Exactly.
we may have talked about that in your episode too, because of how how desperately needed that was during pandemic, and how
Right.
much people didn't realize, like, that was the true pandemic, was this
Right.
lack of connection with other
Exactly.
humans.
And I've been really
And
lucky because I have a job in a company that I have fallen into, like an amazing company, an amazing team who's super supportive. And so having work has been my like one constant. So I only took off a day and a half after my surgery. Like I have not, and like it's a workers' comp issue. So they're like, do you need to take all of the time you want, And I'm like, nope, work's making me happy. This is what I'm doing. But I haven't been able to travel. I am traveling the next 2 weeks with some heavy assistance, but I am so excited because I'll be out doing my thing.
yeah,
Um, and just, some normalcy in my life because my life does not look anything right now like it had for the last year.
I think normalcy is overrated. I was actually having a conversation this weekend with a friend of a friend who joined us for lunch, and he was talking about everything being normal. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
normal is a setting on a washing machine. That's it. Like, what
That's
is
awesome
normal?
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
like
awesome.
like just because you were raised a certain way and that's normal for you, I'm using air quotes here for those
Right,
who are listening, uh, that doesn't mean that's actually normal. Like,
right.
he was kind of saying that he grew up in a family where he would get beaten with a stick or a
Mhm.
belt or something like that, and he's like, yeah, that was just normal for that time. I'm
I
like,
was beaten with a belt, so yeah,
that is
absolutely.
not normal.
Well, see,
Not
that's like
normal.
I just found an article yesterday about how children who were raised in these evangelical homes with like this Dobson, like children to be seen, not heard bullshit,
Hmm.
they are triggered by the elections because, like, since Trump and all that kind of stuff, that's really hit people on seeing it's triggered something going back to the childhood because of that. And how many people my age or, a little bit younger or older are, not close with their parents anymore because of this authoritarian, this is how you're
Hmm.
going to do it. I'm going to beat with your belt and then I'm going to hug you and tell you it's okay. So nothing like, I didn't know that all this like religious trauma wasn't really a thing until like the last 10 years or so. So
Yeah.
like finding out that these weren't normal to me, I still sometimes doubt it. I have, pay a lot of therapists to tell me, no, that's not normal because you will always wonder, like, maybe they're wrong. Maybe that is right. Um, and then one of the things that I've like really been struggling with is that it was a hard year. It was a hard year of focusing on me and everything. And I'm going to have to walk into that again. I'm getting teary eyed because
Yeah.
it'll be like starting from fresh, but taking some of my lessons will hopefully be better. But it's going to be hard. And so I know that's out there. And
Hmm.
that's making me really focus on these things too.
Yeah, well, focusing on today and what's happening today, because what you are anticipating is not actually happening.
Right.
It's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the fear
Right.
or the anticipation of what could happen. And you don't even know, like, it could be amazing because you have all this previous experience that you can funnel into the experience you expect you're going to be having. And it could be like super easy.
Right. And
But
I've been surprised at each one. I've made it through. So I've made it through, the super abusive trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma, religious trauma of childhood. I made it through all of these things and I'm better for it. So I know I'm going to be better for it. And one of the things that I worked with, excuse me, with one of my therapists is that because I had that like very traumatic childhood, I am always, and I don't know, you've probably read The Body Keeps Score, I'm always
mhm,
in fight or flight. So I do really well in like major emergencies. Like I am calm because my normal is fight or flight,
yeah,
not, I'm not, that doesn't hit me. And so I've always handled all these things. Whatever came to me, I handled it really well. But then, like at this point, when I got hurt in March, everything was like wrong. Like my whole world changed. I had no control over anything,
mhm,
and so I've had to learn. Like I hit that point, that wall. Like I finally found that wall where I just couldn't do anymore. And I just had to like let go of all of it and just go day by day, which, I think maybe I needed that lesson to not to like really relieve myself of a lot of um how hard I was on myself, to like give myself grace. Cause we talked about that before. Like grace is a
yeah,
big thing. And I give it to everybody else, but it was hard to give it to myself. And I've had to learn that you're doing the best you can.
yeah. That's not uncommon,
Mhm.
and Yes, everybody is doing the best they can. I find it a little ironic that your episode, the first episode, was called Lighting a Candle and
Yeah,
Letting It
I
Go.
still have that. And I
Um,
got my daughter the teacher's version when she graduated. There's one for
cool.
teachers, and I got her that one.
That's cool. So the irony, though, comes in that you are still learning this lesson.
Right.
Or maybe it's not irony, it's just interesting to me.
Right, because you're always learning lessons. Like you think you have it together, you think you figured it out, and then karma's like, really?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, but it's still the same lesson. And
Mhm.
and again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Right,
just an interesting, like, you think you've learned that lesson, and of course there will always be more lessons to learn, but then you get sucked back and go, "Oh no, wait, you're not done with this one."
right. I think we have to like fall apart again every once in a while and rebuild.
Mhm.
Like they say, like when you break a bone, it grows back stronger, which is
Yeah.
kind of big for me right now. Like I think that's what has to happen to you. That if you don't have those, like if you don't fall apart and you don't have to rebuild, then you're just static and you're not going anywhere or growing. And it's like hard to get our attention, when we're busy these days. And sometimes it takes a major fall or, your husband walking out or any of those things to be like, okay, now we got to refocus. Now we got to pull it back
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I totally believe that the universe will do whatever it needs to do to get your attention,
Right.
because it may have been dropping small hints that you weren't paying attention to along the
Exactly.
way, and then it goes, all right, now I'm taking out the 2x4.
Right. Exactly. Like, hey, you haven't gotten my hint. So, yeah, we're
Right.
going to make it so you can't miss.
Yeah. Yeah. And then recognizing, like, you have, like, oh, there's a lesson here.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what can I learn from this? And also you said about the learning, like that is a lifelong thing. I mean, this is, again, key takeaways all over this episode, because once you stop learning, you stop growing, and you are then dying.
Right. And like my kids are now 20, 22, and 24. And so like, and I realized that I had still made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I know that it's not like, oh, well, they're older, there's nothing I can do. I know that I can go back and fix those things by changing my behavior now, being open and honest with them and doing those kind of things. So, like, even parenting isn't over, even when they're this young. And
Yes.
I do have a chance to change things with them. And so, all of these things have been really big. And, really, I'm grateful that they've happened.
Yeah, and I believe that it's never too late to change things. Like, even
Right.
if they were in their 50s and you were in your 70s, whatever, like, people always have the opportunity to change. They don't always take it,
Right.
but it's always available.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so again, I feel so much more relaxed. Like I'm just, enjoying things. I have a thing where where I make myself do one thing a week that is out of my comfort zone or new.
I
So
love
this
it.
week I
What
went to a drag show on Saturday night for this week.
Okay.
But yeah, I do starting off Pride, right, for the month. So
Uh-huh.
I just learned that trying to do something, even if it's just a new restaurant or something that's different, is what, that keeping my focus on those things instead of like all the things that are going wrong. Because if I did that, I would just be like curled up in a ball in bed if I
Right.
looked at like what I've gone through. But instead, I want to focus on these great things, these opportunities. Get to set up a new, like, I get to relocate. This time it was my choice. It didn't
Yeah.
depend on the kids. It didn't depend. Well, my daughter's there, but she didn't have an influence on it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
me for the first time in 50 years. Where do I want to live? What
Mhm.
do I want to do with my life? Which is pretty fucking cool.
It is. It is. And then, right, asking yourself those questions and then getting quiet enough to hear the answers,
Right.
and
Yeah.
trusting that the answers that come to you are the right ones for you.
Yes, exactly. And buying every book on Amazon. So,
Buying every book on Amazon.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, knowing, like, hey, every book that I bought is focused on a new you. Like, it's not reflecting on the stuff that you've gone through so much. It's
Mhm.
opportunity, like ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to
Right.
just stay forward focused. And, that's really helped a lot too. Because I didn't really know me. I mean, you're a mom, you're all this. And I was at this point where my kids are, on their own. This is the first year I haven't had a kid home for summer.
Mhm.
And so like I have all these things that are different right now. And it was a good time to find myself. And it's kind of like I got a break, even though it sucked to be like not traveling and stuff. I've had a break to just breathe for a little bit. And I've never had that either.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I was going to say something earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that your daughter was on you for not holding a grudge
Mm-hmm.
more with your
Right.
ex. And I want to tie that back into what you just said about focusing forward,
Right.
because holding that grudge it doesn't serve any of you.
Yeah, I've never been able
And
to hold a grudge. Like
I,
I don't do that. And
yeah,
it's not me. And I always felt that was a flaw in my personality, that like I let things go too easily. But it's not. It's like I don't need that. I don't need any
no,
negative right now.
it's not at all, because like, yeah, right, exactly. Any of the negativity that you could choose to hold on to is not going to serve you. And I think that's a
Right.
point too, that because I've had conversations with some other friends who have kids in their early 20s, mid
Hmm.
20s. You learn that as you get maturity.
Right. You
Yeah,
learn how to deal with, yeah, and you learn how, like, my daughter, she's doing, like I said, she's doing Teach for America right now, and she had her first, day she was going to teach, and the school system was just so chaotic right now that she didn't even know what grade she would be teaching in for summer school. She'll be doing pre-K before that. She didn't know what she was teaching in summer school. They had to go into a completely unknown situation and just teach. And
mm-hmm.
so, like, I was working with her, like, we did the what ifs. I love that game. Like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And I'm like, you're teaching, she ended up teaching rising second graders. I'm like, they don't know if you screw up.
Right.
Just go do it, just pretend to be confident and pretend until you make it. And so, like, the lessons that I think you can, like, still give them, but it's all by modeling, it's all by
Yeah.
example. And I feel like you have to be raw, you have to let them see. I tried to protect that for so long. I was big about apologizing to them growing up because I never heard an apology from my parents. So I was big about that. But now it's about, like, letting them know, like, you do the best you can, and it's never ending. It's always revolving, and you can change, and you can get a new path at any time in your life.
Yeah, and it gives them the freedom or the ability, the acceptance to
Mm-hmm.
live their life that way, instead of trying to be perfect, which is the model that you showed them earlier, which is
Right.
impossible. So now they're trying to live up to an impossible model.
We literally had this conversation on Sunday night because I'm like, she's like, I just don't, what if they don't like me? What if the other teachers don't like me? What if all these things? What if I'm not perfect? She's like, I don't even want to be average because that's not perfect. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that you're never going to be perfect at everything. And some people are going to not like you. That's them. It's not on
Mm-hmm.
you. It's on
Mm-hmm.
them. You don't like everybody. Not everybody's going to like you. It's not a reflection of you. Let it go. I'm like, and you're going to have to learn to accept failure, and failure is where you grow. I feel like I just did our whole text line. The failure is where you make the corrections and you grow from that. And if you are always worried about being a failure, it's going to kill you. And my children were raised by two first children. So there was a lot of perfectionist in us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that was another unfortunate thing that I really regret passing on. And so now I'm trying to undo that and let them know that, you know what, failure is going to happen. I'm here for you when it does. And you're going to come out 100% better. And you should embrace actually failing at some time. Don't fear it.
Yeah. And anytime I get into a conversation about failure, I feel compelled to put out my definition of what failure is. It's
Uh-huh.
a like looking at it in a different way. Like, what is failure really?
Right.
It's not getting the outcome that you expected. That's it.
Right. It's nothing
It's
personal.
so
It's not you.
benign.
You're not the failure. You failed
Yeah,
at something, but aren't a failure is a hard lesson to learn.
it is. And just that redefinition of what failure is. Oh, I didn't get, it's like an experiment. I didn't
Right.
get the results I thought I was going to get. And what you got, as you said, is a lesson.
Right. And
What can I learn?
it's learning that you alone are the ones that can make you happy, and your opinion is the one that matters. I
Mm-hmm.
keep trying to convince young adults that other people don't care about them as much as they think they do, right? Like,
Right,
you
right.
may think that you're the center of their world, but they do not. So, like, let it go. And so, like, I'm the one that's going, like, I'm the one that gets to judge if I'm a failure, and I'm not. So don't take it personally. Just let it go. And so that's, like, again, back to my original episode
Yeah.
with lighting the candle. Like, and I still keep one of those and I use it often. Is you just have to let these things go. You can't keep them in. And I'm doing a better job at teaching them that and actually modeling it too.
Well, congratulations on that. This episode, like I said earlier, is just packed with key takeaways. My editor is going to have a field day with like, how do I keep it to just a few? We're going to have a long list of key takeaways for this episode. All right. Well, I would be remiss if I don't ask you again, because maybe it's changed. What is your hype song now?
My hype song now, and I thought about this because I had a feeling you would ask. Try to decide. I have got so many that have been like big, and I should have written it down, but I still listen to Whatever It Takes, but it's been more of like every recent Taylor Swift or Kelly Clarkson song. Those, like, Kelly Clarkson like went through the same things like right before me, and so she put out a whole album of all of these things. But I think the old Alicia Keys, a brand new me, is gonna be the winner.
That is so perfect. Yeah.
And I like the line about like, it's about the part of, I don't know the line like word for word, but about like, if you don't like it, that's tough, basically. Like, this is me, and it's not about you.
Right. And that's always how it is. Not in this. Yeah. We can go on for a long time, but yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's about taking care of you and doing what is right for you.
And giving the world the new you, instead of trying to meet all of their expectations, where they can take you or they can leave you, but that's not on you. I just, like, people are going to leave my life. They were not meant for me. And it's made room for more people to come in and really support. I have a dog behind me, to really support what you're doing and who you are, and to cheer that on. And I, over the last year, had to build a whole new support system in, Tennessee myself. And I found those people who were like, this is amazing. And I found that cheering section. And when I got hurt, I was surrounded by amazing, people in my industry at work who became even closer. So you never know, like, that injury brought me closer to an amazing group of women who stepped in to like wipe the blood off my leg at the old Ebbett bar and, do things like that. So just embrace, like, don't stress, and just look for, the blessings. Oh, not blessings. I hate that word, but look for the, like, things you can be grateful for in all this.
Yeah. Yeah. Christina, thank you so much for coming on. I am in your cheering section as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show a second time and sharing like all these lessons that you've learned.
I was so excited to, like, especially share my failures, like, because again, I'm proud of them because it's who I am. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Fine is a 4-letter word.
Thank you.